Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of our 2021 Inspiring Life Reset. We say reset because with a new year comes an opportunity to reset our goals around how we work, how we play, exercise, spend time with our family, and how we eat. And that's what today's topic is all about, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Um, so these are indeed unprecedented times. So many of us, so many people are working from home, which blurs the lines between work and family and Netflix and walking the dog. Um, Many people talk about the quarantine 15, right? The weight that we've put on through spending more time at home, less time outdoors, less time with people. Do you find yourself getting up, going to the fridge 20 times a day, wandering around just because you can, just because gives another opportunity to get out of your seat, walk around like the zombies my teenage boys are. Um, and just questions, right? You have questions that you just don't have answers to, and lack the motivation to eat properly, the motivation to cook food. We can't go out as much, so things just become like I said, a big blur. Um, so with this, I want to say there is good news. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here to talk about what it is around our diet, our nutrition, the things that we can do better at and understand more about. So today, the things that I'm going to talk about are around the keto diet, specifically with something called the keto reset diet. Um, Now, most of you have probably heard about keto. Many of you already may do it or have tried it. Um, but I'm going to explain it so that we understand it and learn why there is a thing called a keto diet, and to understand that it's a very congruent concept with respect to all aspects of health, the aspects of health that we talk about all the time here. Um, and knowing that the process of ketosis, which is what the keto diet is based on, is actually a metabolic function already within us. It's an inborn mechanism that we all have that we just need to tap into, and utilizing a way of harnessing and utilizing energy that's already there. So it's a process that I want to teach you and have you understand so that then you can make a decision about whether it's something that's good for you or not. But it's essentially there already within us. It's been there, it's genetically within us, has been since the beginning of time. We just don't use it. So I'm going to go over some supplementation. Uh, our soils are depleted of proper nutrients. We can't really get many, especially in the northern climates here, many of the natural fruits and vegetables that our body should be getting. So there are some things that we promote in terms of supplements to help fill in those gaps. Um, and we'll go over those as well. I'm going to go over some shopping lists. A lot of this can be really, really daunting, not knowing what to buy, what to eat, and I'm in that category. I find it really confusing and overwhelming. So I'll go over some basic lists of good foods, things that we should eat. I'll give a list of things we shouldn't eat, um, so things to avoid, and uh, 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 um, uh, just to make it less daunting. I'm also going to give you the resources. So my process of learning, I read a lot, I listen a lot, and I have mentors, experts that I pay attention to, I learn from, I pull this information from, and not much of my information is unique to me. I beg, borrow, steal, plagiarize from other experts. I try it. I try it for myself and my family. If I like it, if it works, then I scream it from the rooftops. But I want to make sure that I give respect to those people that I have learned from, and also, as I touch on much of this today, understand that we'll have to go into a deeper dive along the way, and that's what the resource page will be all about, giving you some links and resources where you can take what I talked today about and apply it to yourself, but really it's a huge world, and some of the resources I'll give you are very easy to navigate. If I can do it, you can do it, and you'll appreciate it. So um, I want to give respect to those that have shown me along the way. So here we go. Bear with me. Here we go. So before we talk specifically about keto, I want to ask not so much why keto, but why diet? Um, Most of the time, we want to go on a diet because we want to lose weight. Um, and that's a noble goal and objective, and it's what most people want, and that's okay. That's what this is all about. But the problem with most diets is that they don't change you. They don't change the processes involved, and uh, and they don't really illustrate how the body works. So I think of every moment in life is a choice, and with our choices as human beings, we tend to move towards pleasure and away from pain. So the objective of most diets is to take something away from you that you shouldn't be eating or drinking or having. The problem with that is if I tell myself I like chocolate, and I do like chocolate, well, then I do like chocolate, right? So if that's what I'm telling myself and I like it, well, what's a diet typically going to do? It's going to tell me that I can't have chocolate. So at some point in time, I am going to not have my chocolate, and I'm going to associate that diet with pain. So I'm going to want to avoid it. This is why diets typically last 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. And then we end up riding that roller coaster, right? Of gaining weight, losing weight. It becomes not fun. We don't get results. And we then, of course, don't get the health benefits from having a healthy lifestyle. So I really, I'm not interested in what you're not willing to do, but I'm interested in what you are willing to do. So if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to understand how the body really works and how we can tap into other energy reserves, then there's a huge, much greater chance of success. So before we dive in here, I do want to emphasize this point that um, we must create a why. We must create a why and an understanding of the process. Because if our why or our understanding isn't rock solid, then we don't get the results that we're looking for. We we get frustrated. We fall off the wagon. There's the wagon. We fall off that wagon, and we then, like I said, ride the roller coaster of weight gain, weight loss, and we suffer because of it. So understand this, please. I'm no different. So I've been studying this for years. I've essentially eaten primal or paleo for 20 years. So I I consider myself an expert. I understand the science. I understand the repercussions. I've seen the devastating effects of poor lifestyle choices. I am truly an expert in this stuff. But if you plop a Costco-sized box of Oreo cookies in front of me, I will mow down a sleeve of Oreos in one sitting, right? I'm weak. I'm human. I I get cravings just like you. I succumb to those cravings just like you, maybe more. I don't know. But because I understand the science, because I understand the repercussions, because I have a why, because I can come back to that why, then I'm able to right the ship. I'm able to move on, and I'm able to get back on it, back on that wagon, right? So I I really want to add that there is no guilt here. There's no guilt. There's no shame. There's no timeline. There is no judgment ever. If you eat McDonald's 7 days a week, and the only change that you make is that you now eat McDonald's 6 days a week, and the other day you eat a big green salad with some fresh tuna, then you are more healthy than you were before, right? So I don't want this to be a race between spouses. I don't want it to be a setting unreasonable targets and goals that just are going to frustrate us. Understand we're creating a lifestyle change. The key part of that word is life. It takes a life to create a lifestyle. So take your time. Um, you can't fail. If you fall off the wagon, right the ship and get back on the wagon. Make it slow and deliberate. Like Dr. Mark said in the first talk, with respect to habits for success, we are what we repeatedly do. And that includes having mistakes that we correct, right? So every mistake we make, if we correct it, it's the correction that our genetic makeup makes up. So understand that this is a huge component before we even dive in here, because I don't want this to be daunting. I don't want it to be a mountain that you have to climb. So uh, enough said on that. I want to talk about the benefits of of a functional diet, and that's what this is. This is a functional approach. When our bodies function the way they're supposed to, then we see an improved quality of life, right? So it's about function. If it's just weight loss, and everybody's tried weight loss, right? Sometimes if weight loss is done the wrong way, do we feel good? No, we feel you starve yourself and you lose weight. Well, there's the goal, right? But you feel like crap. Your body certainly doesn't feel like going for a run when you've depleted yourself of all calories. So understand that improving quality of life, yes, it means losing weight, but it means increasing energy. It means increasing our mental clarity and memory. It means reducing inflammation, getting rid of pain. Um, and then the long-term real benefits of this are reducing the risks of the lifestyle diseases. And this isn't a treatment. Um, for disease, but it's a prevention, right? The healthier the body functions, the better it functions, the less risk we have of the lifestyle related diseases and illnesses. So super, super important. Um, so let's talk about ketosis. Let's talk about what it even means. We just kind of know it's keto. Keto, maybe it stands for something, maybe it's short for something. So keto is short for ketosis. Ketosis is, well, I'm going to talk about it through our typical North American diet, and that's what this is, right? When we eat, the typical North American diet is rich in carbohydrates. So the process of taking in carbohydrates as our source of fuel, as our meal, our body, our pancreas secretes insulin. Insulin comes in. Basically, we convert those carbohydrates into glucose that circulates in the blood. So we have an immediate source of energy, right? Blood sugar. Uh, it'll convert much of that carbohydrate into glycogen. Glycogen is what is stored in the muscles and in the liver as a reserve of fuel and energy, and the rest it is converted into fat, and it's converted and stored as body fat. So the typical day is this: we wake up, we have our coffee, we have a bagel, or we have a bowl of cereal, and we flood our body with carbohydrates. This causes the insulin spike, the blood glucose spike. We feel full, but then as time goes on, in a fairly short period of time, the carbohydrates that are converted are stored in the muscles. The blood glucose is circulating and used up. And what happens, because we're not typically on a day-to-day basis. We're not going to run a 10K. We're going to drive to the office. And what happens in a couple hours is we get that crash, right? We get a crash whereby we then get hungry again because we need another quick fix of sugar in the bloodstream. And this is just innate. This is how our body reacts. So what happens mid-morning? We get a mocha, we have a muffin, right? We have something else that then causes that insulin and sugar spike. That crashes right around lunchtime. We eat a sub, something again, pizza, whatever. That's a lot of carbs, and then the mid afternoon. You know what I mean. So the same thing goes on, and that's how our body reacts. And we never really get a chance to utilize anything other than the carbohydrates that we continually take in. Okay, so there is an alternate source of energy, and these are from fats and ketones. So in the absence of carbohydrates, if there are no carbs coming in, we don't have that immediate blood sugar spike. We don't have that. And understand this goes back to the beginning of time, right? Our hunter-gatherer ancestors, they didn't they didn't wake up in the morning before going on a hunt or a forage. They didn't get up in the morning and eat a big bowl of cereal or have some toast, right? They didn't carbo load the night before with a big plate of spaghetti. No, they had to tap into these reserves. Sometimes they wouldn't be able to have carbohydrates for days. So in the absence of carbohydrates, our body has to find an alternate fuel source. And it's genetically hardwired into us. And that's both our stored body fat as well as the dietary fat that we can utilize on a day-to-day basis. So our 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 body is trained to dip into those fat reserves. It won't do it if we continually take in the quick and easy breakdown of sugar. So if we reduce the amount of carbohydrates that we're taking in, it and train our bodies to then utilize the stored fat, well, what's one of the great benefits that we're all after anyways, it's going to be losing weight. We'll lose that body fat because we're using it as fuel and as energy. We're able to eat fatty food. We're able to eat that and utilize that if that system of our body is turned on. Now, the brain cannot utilize fat for fuel. The brain has to either relies on sugar, which just look at your kids zipping around, or maybe you zipping around after a high sugar, right? Yeah, it hard to control, or it can utilize what the liver breaking down and releasing ketones, and that's where keto diet came from. So originally, giving some history here, the keto diet, the release and breakdown of ketones utilized by the brain was really treated at the beginning. This diet was used to treat people with epilepsy and to successfully treat the seizures that they would get. So it's fuel for the brain, and research is showing that people with Alzheimer's, people with dementia, people with those types of nervous system disorders greatly benefit from a keto diet. So for me and for many others, they think, well, even if I don't have Alzheimer's, um, I get brain fog or my memory's going. I mean, I'm 50 now. I kind of blame it on that. But if that can be reversed or sharpened by what I eat, right? So this is understanding the principle here. Um, so utilizing fats and ketones as another fuel source is a brilliant way for our body to and we'll get into this in a minute, to be more flexible with where we get our sources of energy, and it's already in us, right? It's already, we're already hardwired for it. We just got to train it. So okay, bear with me. My skills are elsewhere. Here we go. So this has become my favorite term, metabolic flexibility. So what metabolic flexibility is, it's a state in which our body can extract energy from whatever substrate is available. So what this means is if we are metabolically flexible, then we're able to tap into the carbohydrates that are on our plate. We're able to then, tap into the glycogen stores that are in our muscles. We're able to tap into the circulating blood glucose, but we can also, if that's not there, we can tap into the stored fat reserves in our body, the fats that's on our plate. We can tap into the liver metabolizing ketones. We can even metabolize proteins as they come in through that cycle, which is a different one. But being metabolically flexible, we're not relying on any one system. We're allowing our body to tap into what's available at that time. And this is so, so key because when we're metabolically flexible, then we have constant energy, right? So keto has been dumbed down to become a weight loss diet, and it does so, but that's the byproduct of our system functioning properly. So without without the insulin and glucose spike and then crash, it eliminates those cravings, right? So we don't crave the sugar. So the one of the natural byproducts then is that without an increase in appetite or with suppressing our appetite, we will naturally lose weight. By tapping into our already stored fat reserves, we will then lose weight. But the energy component, not having the afternoon nappies and the mid-morning crash, we have a constant state of energy. And what does that do for our mental health, right? What does that do to our attention span? What does that do to our tolerance of our kids, right? What does that do to those around us, our workplace, that type of thing? So the downstream effects are limitless. Constant energy is a huge, huge component. Tapping into fat stores so we lose weight, like I mentioned. Um, Sleep, right? So if our energy is constant, then our body's rhythms, natural rhythms are better functioning. So we are able to sleep better. The mental clarity part, that's been a big one for me. Like I said, I blamed it on being 50, but I obviously that's not true. But my memory has gone up a little bit except when it comes time to figuring out computer stuff. But our memory is improved, mental clarity is improved, brain fog goes down. Athletic performance, Dr. Mark shared with me yesterday or the other day that the Ironman triathlon, the age group winner of the world championships, set in an age group, set the world record for time in his age group, and he is on a largely uh, keto diet. So we think, you're right, athletic performance, we got to constantly take in carbs, always be taking in carbs for the blood glucose and the muscle glycogen. Really, our muscles are only able to store maybe 2,400 calories worth of energy in the muscles, which isn't a lot if you're doing a long distance event like an Ironman. So we have literally endless amounts of calories stored in body fat. All of us do. So tapping into another one of these sources uh, and learning how to utilize it is huge for athletic performance and function. Um, Reduced appetite, I talked about that. Reducing inflammation, reducing pain. So being metabolically flexible, being able to reduce the amount of carbs, increase the amount of fats to create different sources of fuel and energy. Um, it's huge. So, and here's the key. Um, by changing and by creating this metabolic flexibility, we're able to get a handle on hunger, appetite, and cravings so that they no longer run your life. They no longer run our life. As an athlete myself, and as a distance athlete, I was always having to get that pick me up. I always needed that quick fuel to take me to the next, couple hours, and not just during events, during my day, right? Having my mocha in the afternoon, always having to top up my energy stores until I learned this. It's been huge. So here's the question, right? How? How? So if you've heard about keto and it's been daunting, and listen, I avoided it for a long time because a lot of the strict keto people will say, yep, you have to reduce your carb intake to 20 grams a day. 20 grams a day isn't a lot. And if you're going from 150 to 175, which is quite typical for people, and you're all of a sudden going to 20, it's a nightmare. You're going to hate me. You're going to hate keto. You're going to hate the world because it's really not a good way to do it. I don't care if you're at 175 grams and you change to 170. That's the path, right? So we're trying to get to a point where maybe it's 50, maybe it's 75. It could be more. I'm not going to be the one to give you a hard number. I'm going to be the one that says, here's a pathway, here are the rules or the guidelines, or here's the structure. You figure out how to do it on your own. And this is what I've done. Some days are better than others, but I know I live by a principle, and that's worked really, really well for me. So what to eat. And this was daunting for me as well because I saw the lists and lists and lists, and some vegetables I don't even know what they are. I don't know how to pronounce them, um, let alone find them and be able to buy them. But what I've done is I've kind of distilled down the ones they say above ground vegetables. Those are best. And that's what you're going to have most of. And you can read them on the screen: greens, peppers, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. I'm not a huge zucchini fan, but I love mushrooms and kale and cauliflower, avocados. My goodness, I can eat a dozen a day. Uh, Rich in fats as well, right? The healthy fats, eggs, um, eggs go nuts. So you can eat as many that you'll see in different forums where it settles in for different people. Some people it's two. Don't worry about whites or yolks. They're all good and beneficial. If it comes from the earth, if it comes from an animal, you know it's good, right? If it comes from a lab or it has ingredients that are laundry list of ingredients, many of which you can't even spell or say, um, probably not the right source, right? So we'll get to that in a moment. Meat, fish, poultry, organ meats, the darker poultry parts are more fatty, so a little bit better. Avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, full fat cheese, full fat butter, full fat cream, right? The full fat versions, those are great. Nuts in moderation. Um, and to drink, coffee, tea without sweeteners. For me, I was a mocha guy. Every morning, I had my mocha. Go for my swim, have a mocha. And, whatever calories I burned in my swim, I put back on in 10 minutes with my mocha. But I started for me, it was finding coffee that I enjoyed. So Loft Coffee in DeWinton, a great local roaster. Take the time to kind of roast a good roasted coffee. I enjoy that. You can have it with some sweetener. Stevia or monk fruit are very low glycemic sweeteners. So rather than sugar or aspartame, those types of chemicals, or the refined sugars that just don't have any nutritional value, right? So look for alternatives. I can help you with this, and Dr. Mark can as well down the road. We can refine this down, but this I just want to be a principle. Here's what to focus on. Here's what to begin with, like this list here: sparkling water. I like water, of course, but I like my water to have some texture. So sparkling water, I love it. It doesn't have any added sugar. Um, Mineral water, the same thing. Oh, I got to put dark chocolate on there. The higher the percentage, the better. There's all sorts of other benefits to chocolate. I don't really eat it for the benefit. I eat it for the taste. I love chocolate. Um, but if I'm going to do that, I'm not going to eat I'm not going to eat a Mars bar. I'm going to eat a dark chocolate bar, dark chocolate almonds, something like that. Um, what not to eat? Uh, Empty carbs, carbs that just don't have any nutritional value, carbs that are indeed actually bad for us. Sodas, my kids are crazy for the pop, and I'm this talk isn't for kids. This talk is for the rest of us. Uh, but sodas just aren't a good idea. Juices, there's actually more sugar in a juice box than there is a can of pop. So they're kind of just as bad. Candy, baked goods, right? Refined sugars, refined flours, no nutritional value, hard on the gut, and cause that insulin spike, that sugar spike. Sweets, grain-based foods, sorry to say it, breads, bagels, um, toast, even sourdough bread, one of my weaknesses. So listen, this is not to say never, ever, ever eat this stuff again. It's to say, here's what to focus on. Here's what to consider not having. Legumes may be a surprise to some people, and starchy vegetables, if you're an athlete, you can get away with more of the starchy vegetables, the potatoes, the squash, the spaghetti squash, things like that, and high carb dairy, right? Yogurt, they take away all the fat, they add in all the carbs with the sugars and sweeteners. Just try to avoid it. So um, that's the way it goes. Now, rules. I don't like to say rules. There are no rules. There's guidelines, there's objectives, there's a pathway. Um, but these are the rules that I've lived by forever. You want to add first, right? So before you before we rip that Diet Coke out of your hand and say you can never have it again, no, keep the Diet Coke, but add something first. Okay, add a big tall glass of reverse osmosis water so that before you drink that Diet Coke that you have to have because you have that emotional attachment to it, it's what your body's used to. Um, Before you drink that big tall glass of water and then have your Diet Coke, right? So that's progress, that's a step. At some point, your body's gonna, we reach for Diet Coke because we're thirsty, but we're addicted to the Diet Coke. So if we have the water, maybe some of that thirst has been quenched. So part of us doesn't really need the Diet Coke for the thirst. We want it for the taste. But over time, if we can drink the water, maybe we don't need the Diet Coke as much. Maybe not as much, maybe not as big, maybe not as often, right? So add first and then watch things move away. Fresh fiber, super, super important for digestion in general. Super important to transition into the keto diet as well. When we go on ketosis, our body does flush out a lot of water weight. So that's a lot of it. And when water leaves, electrolytes leave. So we want to supplement. We want to have some electrolytes to take in the salt, the potassium, sodium, and potassium. Uh, and the fiber as well. I always say fiber paves the way for whatever's going to follow, right? So fiber really helps to restore and keep a healthy gut. And like I said, number 3, water, super, super important. Have water as much as you can. Now, more rules, rules of implementation. Like I referred to what Dr. Mark said earlier, slow, constant improvement. It's not a race. It's not a fight. It's not a contest. It's slow, constant improvement. At some point, if you feel like it's overwhelming, dial it back off, right? Again, we're not going to 20 grams a day of carbohydrates. We're going from wherever we are to a little bit less. Make it a progression and slowly change this. Um, Number 2, focus on what you are going to eat. Don't focus on what you're not going to eat. Okay. Kind of like that add first principle, where if you just focus on what you're not going to eat, what you're not going to have. That's more of a negative goal. Keep it positive. Here's what I am going to do, right? And it makes it easier. I am going to add a handful of nuts. I am going to do this rather than say I'm not going to eat as many peanut M&Ms. Number three, understand this. Everything is a choice, right? You don't have to do anything. You don't have to eat better. You don't have to. You can choose to have 20 candy bars a day, right? It's a choice. You're choosing to become healthy. You are choosing. So respect yourself, respect the process, and make it a process that you can do for a lifetime. So I just want to make sure that I'm I'm explaining the process enough, right? Metabolic flexibility, super important. Um, um, Utilizing, buying, eating, cooking, making these meals. The resources I'm going to give you are just going to open up a whole slew of information, recipes, uh, cookbooks, all these things that are actually super easy and amazingly delicious. And you will find a whole world of benefits. So it's easy to default to what's quick and easy, pop it in the microwave and eat it, right? But incorporate some of this information, look at the resources, and and oh my goodness, ask questions. So supplements. I want to touch on supplements because, like I mentioned at the beginning, our soils are depleted. We literally can't eat 12 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables a day. These northern climates, when it's minus 100 like it's been, it's really hard to grow, keep, and maintain that intake. So many of the meats that we eat are, are chickens that never see the light of day. They're not out on the grass eating bugs that make up their meat. They're eating feed, they're sitting in barns, whatnot. So a lot of times we do want to fill those gaps. Now, the world of supplements is huge. It's bigger than Earth. So there are a zillion different supplements that you can take. We have distilled it down to, and you've seen it around the clinic, the core four, right? Vitamin D, right? The hottest topic nowadays with the current state of infections and whatnot. But vitamin D is essential for our immune system. It's super quick and easy to take and supplement with. We have sourced out a couple of great, I think that the two best sources of it, and that's what we carry here. Omega-3 fatty acids. Again, I alluded to the North American diet earlier. The a heavy carb diet, that's omega 6s. Omega 3s are the fatty lean meats and foods that we have. So we want that ratio of 6 to 3s to be about 2 to 1 or 1 to 1. It's about 22 to 1, the typical diet. So omega-3 fatty acids in the form of fish oil, either oil or caplets, is a wonderful way to help restore that. Probiotics, again, our current diet of grains and antibiotics in our medications and whatnot, they really strip out and kill our gut bacteria, the healthy bacteria that we need to protect our digestive system. That those foods, those resources, or those things strip away that gut lining, and then when we continue to take in the heavy grains and whatnot, it creates a porous digestive system, causing things like leaky gut, and all the digestive illnesses and diseases. So the probiotics are, and it's not just yogurt that has probiotics. That's not enough, and it's there's so many more probiotic strains that are necessary to rebuild and maintain that gut flora, the healthy bacteria in our gut. And the multivitamin and the greens, the products that we carry, that really do fill in the gaps of the different vitamins that we can't get enough of through the fruits and vegetables that we don't have a lot of these days. So a good multivitamin doesn't have 8,000% of your daily vitamin C. It's the right proportions, as if you were to eat an apple, right? So one apple doesn't give you all the vitamin C that you need, but it'll give you a portion of it. So the multivitamin, the proportions that they put in, if done correctly, mimic that of real food, and they come from real food, and that's where they should come from. I love Costco, but that Costco sized tub of omega-3 uh, pills or the multivitamins just isn't the quality. You should be able to source the quality. Where did they get them from? Lot numbers, things like that. We've done that homework for you with respect to the core 4 supplements that we have. And if you have questions, or if you have questions on your supplements, bring them to us and we'll go over them with you. We'll look them and research them for you and find what's best for you. I put bone broth and collagen. Bone broth, it's again with restoring electrolytes, bringing back collagen. These are made from real parts, right? So it's what makes up the building blocks of our bodies. So I recommend those as well. I've added in here UCAN Simple Starch. So there's a product, a company that called UCAN that really developed a series of products for athletes, for people who need sustained energy but don't want that insulin spike and crash. And they've done a really remarkable job of through their simple starch, something that does create and help your body to dig into its own stores of energy reserves. Um, in fact, the company that we use is going to be, can you see this? They have given us some products, so we're going to be giving away in a drawing, and we want your feedback on the products as well. So super tasty, as everything should be. Everything should taste great. This should be a pleasure to eat this way, right? It's no good if our why is to be healthy, eat well, lose weight, but everything we eat tastes like cardboard. It's again not sustainable. Our food should taste delicious. We should look forward to eating those meals. And that's what our aim is here today. So with the UCAN products, we carry that as well, and we're happy to share with you what we know. The goal here, right? Keep it simple and consider the goal, optimal health. If you just want to lose weight so you can fit into the speedo this summer, you know what? Then go on the crash diet. But you will be so much better served if you can learn how to tap into your own body's health reserves, energy reserves, and all the benefits will come with it. So let's talk about here the resources. So the guy that I quote and follow the most is right up top here, Mark's Daily Apple. So marksdailyapple.com. Mark Sisson is his name. He's not a doctor. He's not a scientist. He at one time, he's in his 60s, and he could kick the crap out of anyone I know. And he's not even a fighter, but he's just an all-star, well-read and very well respected, self-made researcher. So he was a what he calls himself a chronic cardio athlete. He was a triathlete, a marathoner, and he lived a life of just carbo loading, racing, but he lived with brain fog, inflammation, pain, chronic pain, uh, bloated gut. Uh, and he started to write and talk about this and blog about this 20 years ago. And I read one of his blogs and I said, that's me, because that's the life that I was in. I'm a skinny guy. I never had to worry about weight, but I never had energy. I did triathlons. I never had energy. I slept horrible, all these things. So everything that Mark talked about in his experience, I experienced. And following him over the years has really, really changed my perspective. And he's does an amazing job at keeping it simple for all of us and making just unlimited resources. So you go to Mark's Daily Apple, you'll read his stuff, you'll say, hey, this is where Dr. Barry stole all his material from. And it's largely true. Innate Choice is another great resource, a little bit more sciencey, but anything and everything that comes out of Dr. James Chestnut's mouth, you know he's done a remarkable job of researching and living. So he's a remarkable scientist himself. Metagenics Canada and Innate Choice, those are the two places we get our supplements from that you can research where like the fields that they grew the vegetables that they created the vitamins from. Really, really, really respectable and they do a great job of that. Smartperformancenutrition.ca, that's the UCAN products here. Great testimonials from athletes, um, and you'll find a lot of good information on those sites as well. So the the basically in closing, if this talk was about losing weight, then I'd be talking about different options, and what you need versus what you need and what you need would be all different. It'd be all over the map. I would be different outcomes, different responses, and that's just not our game here. It's just not. It's about optimizing our body's ability to tap into multiple uh, sources of energy that are already in all of us. We may still get different results and the timing may be different, but it's already there. We just have to learn how to tap into it. So come and talk to us. Um, I don't recommend this for kids. Like I said, I have teenagers, boys, they are just garbage cans. They just dump it all in. They run constantly on whatever fuel is put in there, but I don't want to restrict anything at this stage with them. If you're pregnant, I want you to be cautious. I want you to, if you have health concerns or diseases or illnesses or anything like that, talk to your doctor about that. I don't want to give this as advice, but rather it's a principle. It's already within us, and again, it's not a race. Let's work on it slowly, methodically, bit by bit. When you have a stumbling block, a roadblock, come and talk to us. If you have wins, certainly come and talk to us. Um, there are people that do this a whole lot better than I do. But again, I don't consider myself an expert in keto. I'm an expert in health and wellness in a nervous system and chiropractic perspective. But I'm a person that's doing this myself and I'm seeing great results. I fall off the wagon, I get back on, and I invite you to walk along the path with me. Dr. Mark as well. He's that next level of athlete, so he really applies this in a performance basis, and he's a great resource to talk to about it as well. So I totally expect there's going to be questions. I hope I hope I opened the door a little bit to you, for you to want to venture in, whether it's dipping your toe or going full speed. Use us, use these resources, and any way we can help at all, uh, we're here for you. So good luck. Thanks for bearing with me with my presentation, and we'll talk to you soon. 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be talking about the movement component, exercise. So join me again. I'll have this dialed in, hopefully a little bit better. Um, talk to you very soon. Enjoy your lovely weekend. Bye now. I could do this every week.